Hello, 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 everyone. Happy CPI Wednesday. How is everyone doing today? Good morning, John. Good morning, Sterling. Thank you for putting all the tariff and CPI data in there, Sterling. Good morning, Patrick. Good morning, McRangers. Good morning, Bull Strike Cheetah. What else do we have? Good. I'm scrolling through to try to find everybody's good mornings. Good morning, Mark. Hello, Christoph. I didn't see that. Thanks for putting that in there about the BLS to rely on secondary sources. I don't know. We'll have to see why they're switching, but we'll find out. I guess they're going to put out the paper on the new methodology July. Who knows? Who knows? Good morning, Royal Palms. Hey, good morning, Tony. Good morning, Jacob. All right. So I wasn't going to comment. I wasn't going to comment. Good morning, Harold. Good morning, Harold. So, what do we have? We have mortgage information coming out before the CPI coming in 6.93, a little higher than prior. Core inflation rate coming in expected 0.3, coming in at 0.1, actually 0.13, but they round. Year over year coming in at 2.8 versus 2.9. Headline inflation rate coming in at 0.1 versus 0.2, and inflation rate year over year coming in at 2.4 versus 2.5. So drop there for May. What else do we have? We have the EIA numbers as crude continues to climb, actually hitting my next target area. So we have that coming in, and that's about it for today. Tomorrow we have the PPI and jobless claims. S&P, so far, we got a lot of things up. Tesla's still climbing higher. That's interesting. Lockheed Martin. I wonder why that's down. I'd have to look that up. But we also had a triggered mini double bottom in Broadcom yesterday. Don't know if anybody spotted that. Looking for some follow through today. In terms of our groups and sectors, everything's positive, but energy leading the way higher. Fed Watch still has first cut in September and then another cut in December. Fear and greed still in greed mode. Schiller PE back above 37. Markets, let's see where we sit. Good morning, Harold. Hello, Charles. Good morning, Anissa. Energy is the only thing keeping the CPI in check. Well, I also think there's stuff like inventory, pre-tariff inventory sell downs and other stuff. It's going to be interesting, though. It's going to be interesting to see if once the deal's signed, it's technically not signed. That's why I put a question mark in that line, because anything can still happen. But I guess that locks in about 55% tariff rates on China. So we'll have to see how that affects things moving forward. Now, we still technically have a little wedge. We finally got through that 60.52 on the little spike with the CPI data, but we're back to cycle tops. We are very overbought, and this is just still grinding higher. But key support is back at 6,000 to 6,005 roughly. And then if it fell below there, the next major level that I'm watching, by the way, that would trigger this rising wedge, but the next major level I'm watching is about 59.30. To the upside, we don't have a strong pausing bar just yet. There is some very key resistance right around there. There's a significant level right around just shy of 6,100. So that will be my next target before 6,138. Just in front of 6,100. NASDAQ, not quite that 22,141. I'm still watching 22,141 to 22,200 as a very key harmonic cluster. Key support is coming up just a bit. Your major support is about 21,780, and then we're looking at about 21,470. If someone wanted to trade the inverse head and shoulders in the Russell using options, I'd have to look again. I can't really look at that right now, but I'd have to look at where I could structure the best trade. And it's all based off volatility offsets, the skews. So I'd have to look at each of those. But it also depends. I mean, if you don't have, some people don't have futures accounts, so that rules out using options on futures. So then you go to the RUT. I prefer the IWM over the RUT just in general. You get better spreads. Okay, so if you had to do, without looking any further off of those three, and the fact that more people trade is stock and stock options, I'd go with the IWM first. But if you can trade anything, I'd have to look at, again, all the different skews, how I could structure the best trade. The Dow, hold on, I got to move this up. Not yet to that 43,295 cluster. The Dow's really been having some selling pressure above this 40, 43 area. So I'm going to be watching that on the close. But the Dow, I mean, I'm looking to the S&P and NASDAQ first for the bullish trades. And the Russell coming up. Remember, I told you my key target was the 200 and the 62.5. So spiking up there and moving down. It's still, before I can do anything with the larger inverse head and shoulders, we got to get above that 2189 to shift the probabilities. And by the way, personally, for any bullish trades, I'd be looking to structure them on a pullback. We are at cycle tops and extremely overbought in the Russell. Your key support coming in, I'd be watching this high about 2140 on a pullback. Not necessarily today, but overall. The VIX, why is my stuff not updating? Come on. Let me just check something here. Yeah, everything's, why is my stuff not updating? That's going to make a fun live stream. Is anybody else having trouble with, let me just check my, no, it looks like that's all working. I moved my camera a bit too. There we go. Had to put in a new monitor. I don't know why I'm not updating. There we go. All right, the VIX. If we continue to break down, we did not get any volatility pop there yet. So my next target area is 14.5 on a low if the VIX continues to drop. There is absolutely everything's priced to perfection again in this market, so just be careful still. DAX, not much to talk about here unless, again, we have very key support coming in this 23,800 level. I'm going to be watching, especially going into tomorrow, for a rotation play, potentially up. Nothing much today. The 10-year, let's just look at the yields. The yields, a little drop, but not much yet. Not a major drop after that CPI report. So also remember, yield on the macro are still heading down. So far, this is not a big pullback correction on the yields, even after that dovish CPI numbers. And the 10-year, just a little drop, but still holding above 4.9%. Dollar index still pulled back a bit with the number release. And now there's still, it's getting some buying pressure anytime it drops close to this 98 level. So I'm still watching. There's not a great setup yet, but I am still watching for a possible buying setup move. There just isn't anything just yet. Crude yesterday spiking up. 66.09 was the harmonic. I was looking at 66, just in front of 66. We hit that, spiking back down, but now rotating back up. So now I'm watching today how we close above the 66, because that would be above a key support level. And then my next target, 67.31, and then 67.94 to the upside. I need to see, again, would be trailing pretty aggressively a stop in this. We are getting very overbought with cycles at the top, but there's no topping pattern yet. Thanks. Yeah, we'll look at NVIDIA royal palms. We'll get there. Thoughts on natty gas? Well, we can get to that next. Natty gas, especially on pullbacks, it's in sort of no man's land right now. Right now, it's in no man's land, but I would be looking on a drop closer to the 200. I'd be looking for more buy setups. And for a bounce plays, the only thing that would then get me overly bullish would be above 381 still. But again, there's not much right here. There is not much right here. Now, if we pull back down and then make a sort of double pattern, I'll sit up and take notice. But there's not a good solid pattern that I trade in natty gas. I would be personally patient. Gold, we popped up. We came down, hitting nearly the first and second targets on that. Remember, this was not something because right into that rotation zone. And rotating up, but gold's still having a hard time getting traction. Popped a bit this morning, especially after that CPI release, but backing off. Silver, we came down, and it technically confirmed and then hit the first target and triggered after hitting the first target. Again, I would not be looking to short silver right now, but still seeing, again, still going to be watching for a slightly bigger, at least either a sideways pause in silver or a pullback correction. Again, we'll be looking for buying opportunities, just not something yet. Copper, that's why I'm a little hesitant, because copper dumping back down after this breakout. Copper dumping back down. So I am being patient on silver right now. Also, what else? Euro. Come on, don't freeze. What is going on? Yeah, boy. Let's try something else. There. I don't know why. I guess TradingView is having some problems this morning. The spiders. The next major target is 609. The next minor target I'd be looking at is roughly about 6. Here it is. Here's your next minor target I'm looking at. Right around that target area. 606.50 to 606.90. Trading 604.29 on any rollover, I'd be watching for the gap fill to 603.08. Your Qs, next target's 537.55. And then to the 540.81. All right, that's where we sit with there. What else do we have? The good old Bitcoin. Boy. Oh, I guess we're not going to look at Bitcoin either. Maybe NVIDIA? Come on. Sorry about this, everyone. I don't know what. There we go. NVIDIA. I mean, this is a lopsided wedging up double top, but again, of 144. 81 was the next target, then 146.13, and then my key target area is around 140. Remember, this just ticked off the 87.5 rule again. Then we're looking at 148.37. The wedging double would technically be off the table above 136.13 and does not look like it's going to trigger. There is a fair amount of resistance up here, so again, I'd be trailing a stop. The better play for me that I'm keeping an eye on is this Broadcom. So Broadcom pull back into the rotation zone, triggering a little 1 hour double yesterday. So I'm going to be watching for some upside follow through in that. Okay, this would be the secondary bounce. Now, that's not a major bounce play above. If it hits the targets and then continues, we still have to climb above 62.5 for me to get more sustainable in Broadcom yet. What are my thoughts in TLT? Nothing at the moment. Nothing at the moment. Haven't updated it in quite some time. I really don't do a lot in the TLT. I don't necessarily like the way it's structured that much. But I'd be looking, if you were going to force me to look for something, I'd have to, in order to be bullish, I'd have to get above this 86.90 area, 87 area. And in order for it to be bearish, get below 85. It's either a breakout or a breakdown play, and right now it's in no man's land. Okay? So those would be the two things. Right now. What else do we have? Let's see. Let's see if anything else is working again yet. There we go. Bitcoin's still in potential double top territory. That's the only thing from the bearish side I'm looking at. Other than that, if we do break again to highs, and again pulled back to weekly rotation zone, the next target's 113.7 and 118.59. The intermediate targets and what would invalidate the potential double top are right here. You have that cluster right around that 113.7, and then 114.905 invalidates that potential double top. The euro's still in massive potential double top territory. Not really much to talk about. Just a little move up on that. Still watching to see if this reconnects with the 87.5 before rolling over. But again, everything seems to be waiting, and now CPI's out of the way. There's just, I mean, the next big thing we'll have to see with what's going on with Iran. If one wanted to invest long-term in iDrive, self-driving EV tech ETF, where would you look to start adding a position? Where would I look? I've actually never looked at iDrive. Let me see. Let me see. I'd be looking, I mean, it would have to base. I'm just looking for a significant level here. Oh, what a mess. It would have to start basing above 31.45. That's been pretty major resistance. That's been pretty major resistance right there. So I'd have to see a support base forming above there. Or I'd have to be looking for another pullback play, which there isn't right now. Okay, so that would be the key area I'd be looking at. Yeah, FOMC next week is definitely a pause. All right, with that, let's see. In terms of Tesla, again, the key bounce level that's got to close above is this 332.27. And that's, again, just for a retest of the potential high areas before the Musk meltdown sell-off for any Tesla people. We shall see, Coco. We got a long way to go before next year. All right. With that, not much else for me to talk about today. Let's just peek back at the S&P. What's interesting is after the release, we're starting to get some selling pressure. I would be watching on this pullback to see if it gets around the 646 to 648 area into the open to see if we can sustain a bounce into there. All right, with that, I will see I had to switch out my monitor. It's actually got better resolution. I hope it's still coming through well on the live stream. I know a couple things will be smaller just because of the resolution of this monitor. but I'm hoping that everything looks good for everyone. And I will see you back tomorrow for the PPI numbers. All right, I'll talk to everyone later. Bye for now.